Infestation is a bug horror movie. The movie is about this guy who works in this office building. He isn't the best employee. Well, one day he's about to get fired because he's not the best at his job. And yes, a loud screech happens, and everybody in this, I assume, city, not sure if it's around the world, but for sure, city, blacks out. The screech knocks him out. Well, our main character, the guy on the cover, he ends up waking up and he is completely webbed in a cocoon. And yeah, he rips himself out of it, pukes, and is quickly greeted by a giant beetle bug. Well, he fights it off, realizes that everybody is in a cocoon, and he starts just ripping people out these cocoons, and everybody's confused as to what happened. Is because it kind of messes with your memory, the screech. Yeah, and basically now people are just thrusted into this bug infested city. And yeah, these bugs are huge. And the ones on the ground, the ones that walk, aren't your big problem. Those ones seemed kind of easy to fight, but there were like these flying ones that kind of looked like bees. And yeah, they sting you. And as the movie progresses, as they're just trying to escape the city and find, a safe haven, they find out the consequences of getting stung. And I don't want to really talk about what happens with that because that's kind of a big spoiler. So we'll definitely talk about that though in the review. Well, the guy, he has a bunch of people now because they've helped a bunch of people, and they decide that they want to go to his dad's house because his dad is an old military nut and they have a shelter. A basically like fallout shelter with a whole bunch of supplies and stuff. Well, we get there, we meet the dad, things happen. Like I said, I don't want to get too much into it about spoilers. Well, the girl on the cover, she ends up getting kidnapped by one of the flying bugs before they get to dude's dad's house. So he's basically now on a rescue mission to go to this big cloud of smoke in the sky because they assume that's where the hive is. And yeah, the rest of the movie is just them trying to get to this hive to save this girl. More with getting stung. Getting stung is just not a good deal. And yeah, they rescue the girl? Do the bugs kill a bunch of people? Does our main character survive? Also, this movie is basically a comedy. And surprisingly, for it being a comedy, it's honestly not that bad. But that's more into the review. So let's just get into the review. My review for Infestation. And like I said, for it being a comedy, the movie's actually pretty good. The CGI, though, on the bugs sometimes isn't the best. And it kind of looked like some of it was like a mixture between practical effects. Like practical effects as in like maybe the head of a bug in a scene. It would look like practical effects. But when the bugs were like moving or like the flying ones and the queen in the end, that was definitely like CGI and special effects and all that. And it wasn't the best. You could definitely tell they wasn't putting the budget in that because it was just meant to be a fun movie, nothing too serious. Now, the dude on the cover, I'm not sure his name. I 100% probably should have looked it up. I'll look it up after this. Oopsie daisies. But he carried this movie. He was easily the best actor with just the comedy. Yeah, he definitely carried this movie, but also the movie was just mainly revolving around him, as everybody was kinda just a side character. Not bad, but the acting wasn't nothing spectacular, but he definitely carried it. The comedy wasn't laugh out loud comedy, but it's meant to be like a fun comedy movie. So there's that. In my opinion, I definitely think maybe they should have just went kind of more the serious route and maybe honestly just put a little bit more effort into the bugs looking a little better, because one thing that this movie did do, which was pretty well, it was chaotic. Things escalate very fast and people die that you don't expect to die. And there's the part when you finally find out what happens to the people that get stung. And this is something I talked about earlier. So when you get stung, you're basically donezo, you're dead, you're not surviving. As time progresses, you eventually sprout spider legs out of your side and become this mindless spider bug thing that basically carries the cocoons to places. It was pretty insane. That threw me through a loop. All in all, this movie's just meant to be a fun movie about killing bugs. It was pretty good, honestly. Don't get too much into the story because, like I said, it's a fun story. And that's just about it. So my recommendation for Infestation, yeah, I would definitely probably recommend this. I don't see why I want it, honestly. It's just a fun movie. It was entertaining, and there's parts that take you by surprise. Now, the end, unfortunately, wasn't the best, and I didn't really understand the explosion part, which I probably honestly should have just mentioned in the review instead of a recommendation. But, yeah, for sure, this movie, I mean, it's either a kind of recommend, no, it's definitely, I would recommend this.